Algebra 1, Day 17. Today we're going to be talking about generating equations from graphs and tables. We are also going to use our calculators to do this as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing, again, we need to go back through slope. So the things you need to know is that slope is change in y over change in x, remembering that that triangle means change. It's also called delta or difference. That's also the same thing as rise divided by run, and also tells us up, down, right, left, as well as the actual equation. And we've already learned this before. My y-intercept is always 0, b. Some people write that in as a b just to remind us that the y-intercept is the same thing as b in y equals mx plus b. Linear equations are graphed in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, okay? Where m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. All right, so let's go ahead and start practicing this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything. X-axis also with my domain also tells me whatever is the place where my line touches it is called my x-intercept, 0, solution root, whatever fancy word they want to use. And the pink one is going to be my y-axis, my range. Wherever it's touched by the line is called my y-intercept, also my b value or my starting value. All right, so first thing they're asking us to do is to find the slope. So as with everything, I always make sure that I drop in any negatives first, and then I go ahead and find my points. Now, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to look for points, and remember what I said last time. We want to make sure that we get points that go exactly through the corners of the boxes, and it looks like my y-intercept, my x-intercept both go through there. So I'm going to label these -3, 0, 0, 6. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and plug these points in. I need to decide who's going to be y1, y2, x1, x2. Remember, the guys that have a sub 2, I like to usually try and get those as the larger numbers. So to me, it looks like the larger numbers are going to be these guys. So I'm going to pick those as my 2's. So I'll put at the top my y and my x. Notice as a set, they are dropped in together on the same side. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug in the other ones. 0, -3. Now I want you to also notice minus -3. So the reason why I wrote in those negatives first was to make sure I didn't get confused. Double negatives make a positive. That gives us a totally different answer. So those zeros just go away. 6/3, 2/1, which is also 2. So my slope is 2. If I was going to use this to draw something, I would go 2 up, 1 to the right. All right, we've already identified our y-intercept. It's of course associated with our range, 0, 6. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out what is my equation. So y equals mx plus b. Y equals something times x. All right, so first thing, I'm going to go ahead and re-identify my slope, this guy. I'm going to plug it into there, 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing for my y-intercept, just the y value. Plug it into there, plus 6. And the equation for my line is y equals 2x plus 6. Now, there is also an equivalent way for us to do this utilizing our calculators as well. So what we can do is we can go ahead and slide over to our calculator, and I'm going to show you the steps. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say stat and I'm going to get this menu, and then I'm going to hit edit, okay? So edit, I'm going to hit enter, L1, L2, always alphabetical order, X's, then Y's. All right, let's go ahead and start putting in these values. I'm going to do my X's first, -3, enter, 0, enter. I'm going to go over to my L2 category, and I'm going to enter in my next values, which are going to be 0 and +6. Noticing that each of these is an XY pair. So -3, 0 is still paired. 0, 6, still paired together. Now that we have that, we can go ahead and get our calculator to find the equation for us. Even if we just wanted the slope, we could still use the same exact thing. I'm going to hit Stat. I'm going to go over to Calc, and I'm going to look for LINREG, AX plus B. Okay. Now, of course, they were being a little complex, and instead of just writing an M here, they put an A. That's fine. We're smart enough to know that that is most certainly going to be an M. So here, when I pull up the next part of it, after I hit enter or selected that option, it's going to say X list, L1. Okay, that's exactly where we have it. Y list, L2. And these guys should be blank. I'm going to hit enter a couple of times until it hovers over calculate. And I'm going to hit enter one more time, and it's going to spit back an equation. Y equals 2x plus 6. So if they ask me, what is the slope? 2. What is the y-intercept? 6. All I have to do is be able to pick out points on the line. And I verified that that is exactly the same as the equation that I obtained by hand. All right, so let's do the same thing over again. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to identify my y-axis, range, right, where I find my y-intercept, my x-axis, my domain, remembering that all these guys down here deal with my domain, x's, all the guys up here deal with range, my y, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and start writing things in. So here, first I'm going to go ahead and put in my 2 negatives for my slope formula. I'm going to look for 2 points. I found one here and here. So this is 3, 0, and 6, 0. Now, some people find it a little bit more useful to just go ahead and write these out in a table. Oh, excuse me, I made a mistake there. That is 0, 3. All right, so some people need to write this out in a table, so it's just easier to enter, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that just so you can see it. If you want to do that and that helps you organize it better, totally cool with it. All right, so now I'm going to look at these two values and I'm going to say, okay, which one of these is going to be bigger? I think this guy looks a little bigger, so I'll pick those as my 2's. Now, some other people also like to write in the variables for which they're plugging, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put in my 2's, 6, and 0, and then up here, 3 and 0. Okay, so 0 minus 3, -3, 6 minus 0, 6. We're going to reduce that further to 1/2. Okay, so there's lots of different things that you can do to help you keep organized. I would highly suggest that you write these out because sometimes I get confused and I'll start pulling an x value from here and a y value from here. Okay, y-intercept. All right, so go back over here. There it is, 0, 3 is my y-intercept. And what's the equation of the line? Y equals mx plus b. Y equals something times x plus b. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, all right, let's go ahead and find that b value. All right, I'm going to plug it in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and find my slope, my m value, and plug it into there. Go ahead and continue to do that. Negative 1/2 and positive 3. So there's my equation. Let's verify this with my calculator. So I'm going to go back to Stat, hit Edit, and I'm going to look at this, okay? Now, we know how to do this by hand. We want to make sure we can do it by calculator as well. So some people decide to type over these values. Some people just like to clear out the calculator completely. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. I prefer just to clear it out. So I hit second memory 712, and that just clears out everything. And then I hit Stat, Edit, and it's blank. For me, that's a lot easier. So I'll go ahead and plug in my values now. 0, comma, and that'll be 3, okay? So notice I don't necessarily have to enter them all as x's and then y's, right? I could still enter as pairs to help keep me organized. 6, okay, and 0. All right, I'm going to hit Stat again. I'm going to swing over to Calc. I can also hit the number 4 instead of scrolling down, so 4. And when I'm here, I don't have to hit Enter as well. I can just go ahead and hit down a couple of times to get to calculate and hit Enter. And I got an equation back. Y equals negative 0.5x plus 3. Well, that looks a little different. But I know that this is the equivalent decimal form of that fraction. This is exactly the same. So if somebody asked me, hey, what's the slope of that line? I could find it here. What's the y-intercept? I could find it here. All right, so we got that one. Okay, so we can also get equations from tables. So just like graphs, we identify first the y-intercept when x is equal to 0. Then we find the rate of change from one y value to another y value and divide it by the rate of change from one x value to another x value. Okay, so here they gave us a table, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to say, okay, first thing I need to do is I need to identify range, everything dealing with y, domain. Okay, so now I'm going to look at these values. I'm going to go ahead and re-identify first my equation. Slope is difference in y over difference in x. That is the same thing as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So I can go ahead and write in my equation. I'm going to go ahead and put my negatives here. Oh, excuse me, this one toggles up, down, right, left. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my negatives here, and now I need to select these values. So, if at all possible, I'd like to select values that have one that's bigger and avoid negative numbers. The reason is I want to keep my calculations simple. So I'm going to look through all these different values. I see this one has a negative, so I'm not going to use that guy. I'm looking over here. Okay, I have 2, so this guy and this guy. And it looks like this 2 and this 10 are bigger. So I'm going to call this x2, y2, x1, y1. So let's go ahead and plug them in. So y2, y1, x2, x1. Let's simplify. 10 minus 6, 4, 2 minus 0, 2. And I end up with a slope of 2. Now I'm going to go back and look at my chart again. I see the y-intercept is clearly listed out, 0, 6, right? So my y-intercept is there, and I know that that's it because x is equal to 0. Wherever x is equal to 0, I can find my y-intercept. So that means that my equation, y equals mx plus b, should be pretty easy to find since I already have everything I need to fill in. That includes my b value, right, this guy, and my slope, this guy. So let's plug those in. 2x plus 6. Okay, same equation we got earlier. But let's verify this using the calculator. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. Okay, I'm going to hit Stat, Edit. Now I'm going to go ahead and type them in, all of the x values. I don't need just 2, but I'm just going to go ahead and, I need just 2, but I'm going to go ahead and type in all of them anyways. Remembering that I'm keeping them paired up with whatever y value they originally came with. All right, so I got that. Stat, calc, option 4. I'm going to hit enter a couple of times, calculate, spits out an equation exactly just like the one I got. Okay, so we got that down. Let's go ahead and try one more. So, first thing I see that it's a table. Second thing I see, they're trying to play with my emotions, and they named y as a capital F. All right, totally fine. So for this one, I'm going to do it strictly in the calculator, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, swing back over to my calculator. Let me clear everything out. And now I'm going to go ahead and go back to Stat, Edit, -4, -1, 2, 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and type in my y values, my f of x values. -21, -6, +9, +24. Now I'm going to hit Stat again, Calc, and option 4. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter a couple of times until it's hovering on calculator. I'm going to hit enter one more time, and it's going to spit back an equation. Y equals 5x minus 1. I'm going to go back. There's my equation. Based on that information, I can say, oh, well, my y-intercept is there. My slope is there. And I also know domain range. Okay, so my slope is just 5. My y-intercept, I could say -1, but I'm going to write it out in full format, 0, -1. And that's all there is to it. So I want you guys to go ahead and work on these example questions, and I will see you next time.